Morning, welcome back to Love 500, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the new project, Project Sport. What else can we call it? Project 1.2 Sport, Project 1.2 Stolen Recovered, Project Stolen Recovered, what should we call it? I don't know. Welcome back to the channel anyway. So today is the first day of the actual start of the repair. As you saw in the previous video, we put the bumper on, put a new battery in. I've charged the old battery up, which seems to have charged fine, so I'll be swapping that over at some point. So today, what we're going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is change the lock in the door. I've got to change the ignition barrel because the old one's jammed, so we've obviously got to change the door lock as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the door lock in the driver's door. Then we're going to sort out the rods so I can actually get the driver's door open from the outside. We noticed, I can't remember if I videoed it or not, but I noticed that the car had obviously been entered when it was stolen by forcing the passenger door open. So the top of the door where the glass meets it is very, very slightly bent outwards, so the rubber seal wasn't sealing. So the water that I saw that was getting in and getting that passenger seat wet and was going in the bottom of the door card and so on, that's coming in there. So I've put tape over it at the moment, as we've had quite a lot of rain over the last couple of days, and so I need to do that. To do that, I've got to wind the window down. To wind the window down, I've got to get the ignition in, be able to turn the ignition on to wind the window down. I know you can sort of manually wind them down, but I'm not going to mess around doing that. And then I can use my hammer tool to pull that out. I have bent one accidentally myself before when I went to pick one up. I bent it getting it into the car that I had at the time. So I know it's easy enough to do. It's not much. It doesn't. If you're looking at the door, you can't even see it. It's only when the door's closed that you can see it. So it's not very much out, but it's enough just to pull the rubber out a little bit to let water in. They've also got a screwdriver in there. Prise the door. Got something in and open the door. I guess that's how they've done it. So yeah. So I've got to get the ignition barrel on. So airbags needs to come off. Steering wheel needs to come off, and take the clock spring off. Look at those wires. Either repair the wires, or the new ones that I've got down here in the box I showed you last week, or beginning of this week I should say. We'll either use those or repair the old ones. The headlights and all that and the bumper and everything can wait for the time being. I want to get the thing ignition on, hopefully started. When I've got the ignition on, if the fuel gauge is showing 0, I'm not going to attempt to start it. I'll go out, get some petrol and come back. If my theory that because it was hot wired, the engine was just running, whenever they abandoned the car they may have just left the engine running, so the battery ran down, may have run out of petrol, one or the other, I don't really know which. So if the gauge shows petrol, then I'll attempt to start it. I've also, before I do that, as you know, we've got the ring which reads the chip in the key, so I've got to change the chips in the key. So I've got new keys, new locks, but of course the old, if I put the new key into the lock will turn, but it won't start because it won't read, the body computer won't read the chip. So I have to take the chip out of the original key, swap it over, and then fingers crossed, it starts. So yeah, that's where we are today. Let's see what we can get done. To start with, we've got a couple of bits. New badge came, brand new badge, it cost me 20 quid. I normally pay about 10 quid for a second hand one, but this is a brand new one, 20 quid. Didn't come with a screw, strangely enough, but I believe I've got one. I think that might be even it. Took that off a previous car and I thought I'll keep that because I'll need that at some point, so I've got a screw, put that on. I've also got something here in a box which I have no idea what it is. It's just come, literally come 10 minutes ago, so we'll open that and see what we got. Ah, this is my blowtorch. So I bought a little blowtorch with 4 cans of gas to help me with doing the wiring. So yeah, that'll be good. Glad that's come. So if I do need to repair the wires, I use the solder joint things, and I could use that rather than the soldering iron to do it. So that's good. Right, let's get on with it. First thing, the door, or the door lock, I should say. Right, so because I've parked the car a little bit close to the house, I can't get the door open fully. So I've stuck a cloth on the outside of the door. So I'm not going to go through this in any great detail because obviously I've gone through this in the videos beforehand. So if you want to know how to get a door handle off, look at my previous videos. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it on time lapse. The first thing that's got to happen is the door card's got to come off. and then we release the bolts, or the one bolt on the hinge. We release, I don't know if you can see it, there's a screw there, it needs to come out. Wiggle the handle about and it will come out, but I'm going to do all that on time lapse anyway, because you've seen it all before. Right, in case you couldn't see that, I had a bit of a problem, not a problem as such, all I did was I forgot to, am I on camera there? Yeah. I forgot to release the rod, the other end. So obviously when that rod's connected you can't take the handle out. As soon as I released it, obviously it just comes out. So just to go over before what we've done. So when you take the handle out, it's in the door. From the inside you have to compress that. Obviously that's sticking up above the height of the aperture, so from behind you have to compress that, which is the bit that happens when you pull the door handle, that compresses. So you compress that, you sort of shake it up and down a little bit to free it, and then you have to, I think is it up or is it down, I can never remember, it just sort of happens. It's either, it has to be at its lowest point or its highest point, I really can't remember, and then it just sort of levers out, because the metal on the door is a bit of an odd shape, and if you look there you've got an odd shape there. I don't know if you can see it there. Let me have a look through the lens. So you've got that shape there that you have to sort of get out from the aperture. So it is fiddly. When you've done it a few times it becomes easier. First couple of times I did it, or more than a couple of times, it was a nightmare. This looks like it's actually a new handle, because I think this has got the wrong handles on it. Let me look at the passenger door. Yeah, thought as much. This is actually the wrong handle. It's a chrome handle. It's supposed to be a brushed finish handle. So I don't know if I've got one of those. So I might have to change this again. But for the time being, I'm going to change it. So someone's obviously, I imagine the handle's got broken, and they've bought a new one and they bought the wrong one, but they've just put it on anyway. So the next thing we need to do is get the barrel out. Again, there is a video showing how that's done. But it doesn't take very long if I can find a tiny screwdriver. So I actually use this bradawl, which is, if you look at it up close, where's the lens? Sort of got a little screwdriver end on it, but it's tiny. Because what we've got in here, I don't know if you can be able to pick it up, just in there. See that metal, that silver metal bit just under the black little ring? That's a little circlip. So what you have to do is you have to put the key into the lock. I'll just keep looking to make sure I'm on camera. I want to try and do it on camera. So you have to turn the lock, and then just there you can get a screwdriver in, put your finger in front of it, and that comes out. Once that's out, the lock will just pull out, just like that. Easy as that. If you don't put your finger over that when you take it off, it will fly off and you'll never find it again. I've got a few spares because I have lost them in the past. So I'm going to keep that lock because that might be of use to someone. I might be able to sell that on eBay. I know I haven't got the ignition lock, but I've got the petrol cap and I've got two keys, so someone might find a use for it. So I'm going to keep it. Right, so we'll put that to one side for the time being. Then we need to get the new lock out, which is in this box I showed you the other day. Wrapped up in bubble wrap. So here we have the new lock. So all you do to get in, has this got the circlip on it? No. Don't think so, hang on. Is it? No. Okay, so to put it in, you literally, I think you can put this clip on it actually. I've not done this before. Normally they have the clips already on. This doesn't, no. So you push it in. So it's on the key. Push it in. Turn it again, and then you just slip the circlip back in a position. Try to. Live TV, it's great, isn't it? Can't get the damn thing in now. That's it. No, you don't turn it, I don't think, you just put it in. Or do you turn it? I can't remember now. Oh, it's just fallen out and I've lost it. Where's it gone? There's pause for a second. So what I've actually done is I did it just exactly what I said to you, be careful and don't do. I couldn't get that spring on and it dropped and I can't find it anywhere. So luckily, it will, I'm sure it'll turn up, but luckily I had a brand new handle, which is exactly the same. Unfortunately it is a chrome one again, so it will get changed. But if you can see there, the circlip is actually already attached. If you can see that. Yeah, the circlip is already attached there. That groove is where you get the screwdriver in, but it's already attached, so all you do is you just slot the lock in. The lock will only go in one way, he says. Why has it not got, that's it. There you go. So it pushes itself past the circlip, and the circlip's then in the right place. So I say we will change that because I'll get the correct door handle. I'll just double check with my suppliers of spare parts and make sure I haven't got one. I don't think I have. I could just change them both because I've got passenger side, but I'd rather it be as it should be, because the chrome on the back and on the front are both the brushed chrome, so it seems silly to have the wrong one on. But for the time being, we'll put it on. We'll always change it at a later date. And the good thing about using a brand new handle, so the problem with the door not opening was the fact that the other rod was not on the car, was not on in the place it should be. So the beauty of having a new handle is it's got the bush in there, the plastic bush. Where is it? There, which is new. So obviously the handle will go in and it will stay in. It won't keep popping off. So there's no need to put a cable tie around it to hold it in position. So that's good. So we can put that in now. So I'm just going to put some spray and shine. It's supposed to be pumped up, that, but it doesn't seem to be coming out very well. Just to clean up the area where where the handle's going to go. There we go. And then we feed it in with that rod on. Well, you may have to excuse the wobbly camera work at the moment because I've got the camera set up on one of those bendy tripods things attached to the flipped up passenger seat, so it's going to wobble a little bit. I was just trying to get it in the best position. So we've done the door lock, which doesn't actually fit very well, so I think I'm going to have to take the screws out and reposition it. I don't think it's in far enough, but I'm obviously not going to bother filming that. I think what it is, because I've got things on time lap and I think it's recording and recording and recording, I tend to rush things, and I rushed it and I didn't put it in the exact correct position, so my fault, my bad. Anyway, right, so the next thing we've got to do is trying to tack this ignition. So bonnet's up and the earth strap is off of the battery. Obviously there's no steering lock on. I've now got to pop off the airbag. Now you've seen again in other videos how to do this, so I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to do it. He says, oh blimey, made a noise. Typical, innit? Don't want to come off. There we go, one. I think it's easier to get the side ones off first. Two. Sometimes when you get one off, one of the other ones pops back in again, which is annoying. There we go. That's off. Right. Let me take the connections out. One. Two. And then there's the horn. Right, that's that off. Put that in the back, out of the way. Now we have to take the steering wheel off, which is a 24mm socket. So first of all we get the little rubber cup off the top, which is always a pain in the arse to get off. That's my next door neighbour doing her garden, if you wondered what the noise was. I was waiting for her to start talking to me, but she didn't. Oops. Right. So 24mm sockets on. She probably thinks I'm talking to myself. The only problem with having no the only problem with having no steering lock on is getting the bolt started. I managed to grip it between my knees and it worked, so right, that's that off. Where should I put that? Let's put that in there. Where did I put the rubber thing? Oh yeah, up there. I'll put it up there with that. So I can put the spanners down, don't need them. Now we just pull the steering wheel off. But we also have to release this cable in here, which is for the stereo controls, the steering wheel controls. So that needs to come off as well, because that's attached to the clock spring as well. So pull the steering wheel off, put that in the back out of the way. We give that a clean up before we put it back on as well. So as we can see, we've got the broken bits of clock spring. So I'm going to take the clock spring off anyway, but then just so we can look at where these connections are and where they're broken, and then we can get to the shear bolts on the what's left of the ignition barrel as well. So to do that we need a Torx. Now you have to find it. If you find it with your finger, there's a little Torx bolt you can sort of guide your finger in. So you don't have to take that fully out, you just loosen that off, and it basically loosens off a silver clamp that clamps the clock spring onto the steering column. So that should probably do. If it does come off, it's not the end of the world. You can screw it back on once you can do it when the thing's on the car, but it's easier to do it when it's off. So it just needs a little bit of encouragement. That's it, and then it just pulls off. Right, excuse the wobbling around there, then the seat fell down and I just had to reposition the camera. So clock spring's off. We have to now, so those cables did not come off of the clock spring, because the clock spring ones are still intact. That's interesting. So where did they go? Maybe they went on the ignition barrel. Well, we're going to take that off anyway, so we can get to the bolts, the shear bolts now. So if we take these connections out. So this is the bit that I've got, that I've cut. So this isn't the bit that I thought it was going to be, that we had to join. So now I'm not really sure where these go. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not really sure. So we got these two. Maybe they go into the ignition. Yeah, that's probably where they go. They went into the ignition. I don't know, I'm going to figure out which one's which though. That's the problem. I'm going to have to refer to a wiring diagram somewhere. Oh, there's a cut wire there which is blue. So that's going to be that one. And grey. Oh, you can see where they go. So you see in there, I don't know if you can see. You can see blue wire and a grey wire. So that's obviously the blue wire and the grey wire. So I know where they go. I wonder if I'm going to be able to take those out and get them back in. Oh, I don't know about that. Don't quite know how I'm going to do that. Ah, and then we see the other wires, so we can see where they've been cut. So obviously those bits there aren't long enough to join, but at least it shows me where they go. So somehow, so that's how you that's how you bypass it. Interesting. I never noticed those wires in there before. It's a shame I'm not going to be able to uncrimp those. Okay. So the next thing we've got to do is try and get the shear bolts undone. If I can't undo them with a pair of pliers, then I have to cut a groove in them and then unscrew them. But we'll give it a go with a pair of pliers. I know that's how a lot of people do it. It depends whether they move or not. Which they're not. They are very tight. Oh, did that one move? Not sure. No, I think I'm going to have to cut them. No, they're not moving. A lot of people do it like this, and I never know how they can really do it. So what I do is I get a pair of get my trusty cordless little grinder, and then you just cut a cross groove. Is the camera seeing that? Yeah. So you cut a cross groove in that bolt and then that bolt, which is a bit fiddly to get to. And then once you get started, you get a screwdriver on them, and which allows you to unscrew them with a screwdriver, which is a nuisance, but I think that's the easiest way of doing it. Right, that was a pig, that one. I couldn't get on the thread properly with any screwdrivers. I managed in the end to get a big screwdriver on it, and I've also sort of cut a crosshatch in this screw, which isn't ideal. But what I do when I put them back, rather than put that one at the back, which I couldn't get to, I'll put that one at the front, which will make it easier to do up. Okay, so now we've got that off. As you can see, it was snapped. So as for the steering lock, that thing there, which you can see, hopefully you can see pushing in and out, that's the thing that pushes up and locks the steering in position. Pushes into a groove, which then which is in the steering column, which stops the steering from rotating. So we now know that's where those plug in. So if we get those plugs, where are they? Here they are. So they are different, these plugs, so you can't put them into a different place, so we can see exactly where they go, like that. So 2 one side and 3 the other, so they only go in one way. so we can see where they go. Where are we? You can see where they go. It's just a matter of trying to get these cables out and put the cables back in. I don't know how if I'm going to be able to do that. I don't know if I'm going to have to try and get hold of those plugs somehow. Whether they, if there was more cable on there, I could just join the cables. So that's a nuisance. So I can still put all the the new barrel back in. I just need to figure out the best way of doing this, which is a bit of a nuisance to say the least. But obviously I could buy these. I'm not even sure how you crimp them. Obviously they're put in there and crimped probably by machine, I guess. Don't quite know I'm going to do that. I'll get some pliers on them and see if I can. There is a little bit protruding, so I might be able to pull them out. I'm going to try and pull them out and see what I can do. If they pull out as a whole, and then it was just a matter of pushing them back in, crimping the wires back in, and then pushing them back in firmly, that would be good. But I'm not convinced that's going to work. But we'll try it anyway. So we'll put those to one side for the time being. Right, so we've got the new barrel, which obviously fits in like that. Like that. Oops, won't stay in obviously without the bolts in. So those white plugs plug into the bottom of it. Obviously the ignition switch, not sure if it goes around a particular way. Don't know if the key has to be in it. Let's put the key in. Trying to do it with, oh, that's it. That's it. So when you turn the key, that pushes, well, it's not doing it now because it's, that's it. When you take the key out, see that pops out to lock the steering in. So that's the steering lock. So yeah, I'm going to put this on. So I'm going to put those bolts back in the opposite to how I took them out. So I'm going to put the really mullered one at the front, so it'll be easy to get that in. You may have noticed I did take the thingy off, the coloured panel off. I just couldn't get any more on the screwdriver to get that in. I might actually cut a little, now I've got this off, I might cut that groove a little bit deeper. That's those tightened up. Now, does that ring slip on? Oh, I see. Oh, this one's actually got a ring on it. Okay, if this has got the ring on it, does that mean that I can use the keys that came with it? Will the body computer recognise them? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm trying to fathom out how this comes off. I don't want to... Oh, like that, that's it. I don't know. It's got the ring. I don't know. I think the body computer... I really don't know. That's an interesting question. So there's a question for you if anyone knows. So the ring that came with the ignition switch, obviously it's got an electrical connection which the body computer reads, and that reads the chip. If I left that one on, connected the body computer to it via the plug, would I be able to use the keys that came, the chips that came with the keys, or do I still need to change the chips? I have no idea actually, but I'm going to put the previous one on anyway. And change the chips. But if someone knows, it'd be handy to know, even if it's for future reference. So this is the new key, which now goes in perfectly. So that's good. So yeah, so the only thing I've got to do now, I've got plenty of wire here. as long as the steering wheel's not on and the clock spring's not on, I've got plenty of wire that I can get. If I can get, I know which one goes where, but I've got to get them out. I'm going to take photographs of these as well, so I don't, you know, if I do get these wires out, I know which one goes where. So that's a blue one, that's a grey one. I may even write it with a pen on there, blue and grey. And then on this one we've got, I don't know if you could see that then, sorry, I'll just put it in the camera. I did show you before, but we've got blue there, grey there. So if I write a G and a B on there, and then hopefully if I get a pair of pliers on there, pull those out, I may be able to crimp that, open the crimps up, put these wires back on it, re-crimp it, push it back in. That's what I'm hoping I might be able to do, but I won't know until I give it a try. Failing that, I'm going to have to try and get new plugs from somewhere, which I must be able to get. Trouble with lockdown, with COVID-19 lockdown, it's difficult to get anything. I don't even know if you can get Fiat spares at the moment, so unless I get one set from Breakers. But then if I get them from Breakers, they're going to be in the same state as this, aren't they? Unless they've got wire attached to them. Note to myself, next time I break a car, take these off and cut them. Oh, have I got these? I don't think I have got these. I'm going to have a look through all my boxes of wires and bits and pieces before I do this and see if I have got any. You never know, I might have. I don't know why I would necessarily have not cut them, because certainly the first couple of cars I broke up, I took anything, literally anything and everything off of it, and I was cutting wires and stuff like that, always leaving wire attached that you could join to it, so that would make it a lot easier. So I will have a look through, off camera obviously. But yeah, so that's on. I'm not going to put the clock spring back on, because obviously it's easier to get these wires back once it's with it off. If I put it back on, it's just awkward to get to. So a little bit of good news. I've marked it up grey and blue, but attached to this that I had is that one, which has got grey and blue. So I'm going to cut that grey and blue sort of here-ish, and then I can join it with the other ones. So that's that, and then I'm going to have a look, see if I've got that. I've got a feeling I haven't, but I'm going to have a look through anyway, see what I've got. You never know. Look what I just found it. So I can do the same on that one as well, so that's really good news. Yeah, that's excellent. I just found it lying in the bottom of that green box with all the bits in, so that is really good news. So I can cut those as well and join them. That is really, really good news. I'm really pleased about that. So I'm glad I took this off that car. I'll make sure I take it off every other car. So I'll strip that back. I've already cut that off. I've got my little burner thing today, so I can get those connectors on there that with solder in the middle, and I can get those connected. That is really good news. Right, I thought I'd put the camera outside the car. This is going to be a bit tricky to show you this, but I thought I'd do this one first, because this is only 2 wires, and this is the one with the longer wires on it, so it should be easier to do. I'm so pleased that I had those. I had the foresight to take those off of the other cars, so I'm going to cut those a little bit shorter because they're very frayed. So I'm going to put those down there for a minute. I'm going to get the wire cutters and just cut those a little bit shorter. So I'm going to cut that off, cut that a bit shorter. Use the crimping tool to cut the end off. So that should be enough wire to poke in. So we've got where are we? So we've got blue to blue, obviously. Luckily the colour codings of the wires haven't changed. So what we've got to do, am I getting this on camera? No. Right, so what we've got to do, we've got this little thing here, we've just got solder in the middle of it. So you poke the wires in from both sides, let them cross each other, like so. Hold on to it if you can, and then use a blowtorch, which is my new one I've got today, to melt the solder and create a seal. Just try it. Whoa, a bit fierce. Trouble in this sun, I can't see the flame very well. The flame's bigger than I thought it was. Don't want to melt the wire, do we? Come on, bit of gas. There we go. There we go. Has that done it? I think that's done it. Turn that off. I think that's done it. Not quite. Well, maybe it's not melted. It's not. It's still a bit hot. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's fine now. It's solid now. Now the solder's hardened. We've got a proper connection there. So that's wire to wire, and then the heat has also melted the wire. Well, melted the plastic at the ends a bit, which is then sealed against any moisture. So that ain't going anywhere. Actually, there's a tiny little bit of movement in there, so I'm just going to give that another blast. The trouble in this sunlight, it's difficult to see the flame on this. Give it another little go. I nearly got myself with it then. Should do it. Turn it off. That should melt. Oh, the gate's blowing open now. I think that's doing it. We're going to put tape around it as well, just to hold it all in position, but that should be okay. Right, all the joints are soldered, all taped up, plugged back into the ignition barrel. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have some lunch first, but if I can find it. What have I done with the clock spring? I've lost my clock spring now. It's there somewhere. Where's it gone? No, I can't find the clock spring. It seems to have disappeared. So wherever it is, the bits on the clock spring, the top and bottom cowlings, they've got the remnants of the plastic that screws them on to the rest of it, to the steering wheel, to the clock spring. Sorry. So they need taking off and then bonding back onto those cowlings. But I can still get the clock spring back on and get it plugged back in again, and then reconnect the battery. And it should work. Fingers crossed, and we shall see. Right, I've taken the screws and the broken bracket that was still attached to there, so that will be glued, bonded back onto the top and bottom. It is a little bit broken there. I've got that screw out, that one's broken off, so I will probably, hopefully that's still on the bracket, which is on the bottom cowling. So with a bit of luck I'll be able to put the glue that back on in position. So that was the screw that I was telling you about before. I couldn't get the spanner on, or rather the Torx nut on. So we'll plug these in. And the bottom one, which goes there, and then we'll get that on there. So we may as well put for the time being, put the steering wheel on. There's always a possibility it might have to come off again, and I will do the screw up on this if I've still got the Torx here. That's it, that's tight. Cables are all on, so I'm only going to loosely do the steering wheel up. I just want to have everything connected when I power it up, just to make sure that it's not going to cause any problems. Airbag, we don't want airbag problems and stuff like that coming up. Not that it will be, but just want to make sure I've got all bases crossed to avoid any problems. Line up the marks on the steering wheel. Why is it not going on? Ah, that's it. Here we go. Right, we're on now. So we'll plug all these things back in. Push that back up there, like so. Get the airbag. I'm not going to push the airbag into position, because if I do have to take it off again, which I'm hoping and praying I don't. Oh, would help if I put the bolt back, couldn't it? I'm going to screw this up, because once the airbag's on, it's easier to just push the airbag on if everything's okay, rather than try and do the bolt up on the airbag, on the steering wheel. So I'll do that up now. So we haven't got a key in there, have we? No, so that steering lock of course should lock, which it has. Right, that's gone up. Put the rubber thing over the top, dust cover. Don't know why that's on there really, but so I've got the key in my pocket here somewhere. Right. Now I still haven't. I'm going to turn the ignition on before I do anything, before I change the chips, just to see if it will actually come on, which it should, but you know, we don't know if it's going to, if hot wiring it has caused any problems. We don't know yet. Right, I'm just going to push that into position. Not going to let it I'm not going to let it snap back into place properly. I'm just going to leave it like that. So that's everything now. Turn that ignition off. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to reconnect the battery, and we're going to put the ignition key in, turn the ignition on, and see if the ignition comes on. I'm not going to switch the engine on. I want to see if the dash comes up, windows work, etc., etc., and then we'll see if there's any petrol. If the petrol gauge doesn't read anything, then I'm not going to attempt to start it. And I will attempt to start it once without changing the key thing. Just want to, out of interest, see if it works. I don't think it will. I'm pretty certain it won't, but I am going to try that first, and then I'm going to swap the chips over. Connect the battery. Battery's connected. recovery in time. Keys in the ignition. The ignition is on. Oh yes. Oh yes. So that's worked. Oh, we got the lock symbol. Oh, you know what that is? That lock symbol, that's because of the key is the wrong key. Well, not the wrong key, but the wrong, chip. So we know it won't start. So we have got some petrol in it, but I'm going to turn it over anyway. It's not turning over. But it is turning over. Actually, is it? It did turn over, didn't it? But it didn't the first time. Now it's just clicking. That's weird. That's really weird. So next stage we're going to do is swap the chips over. So swapping the chips over should, in theory, make it start. Hopefully that lock symbol will go out and it will start. Right, so let's take the key apart. Filthy dirty. And then we undo that little screw. And then we take the two bits apart. Another fiddly job. Okay, so that's the key taken apart. So this is the key, the new key for the car. So we'll move all those bits out of the way. And then we'll take the old key apart. So we need to take that circuit board out. That's the old circuit board. And then we need to take the key off. So this is the original key of the car. We'll move that out of the way, and then we'll take that one apart on time lapse. Alright, so the chip's been changed. Switch the ignition on. Should start now. Yes. Oh yes. How pleased. If you could only see my face. It's got a big smile on it. Oh yes. That's interesting. Got flashing mileage. So although it's not an ECU I've changed, it obviously knows something's not original. We've got an airbag light on there for some reason. Or is that the is that an airbag light? Menu, exit menu, daylights, passenger bag. Oh no, it's because the passenger bag's off, I think. Confirm, yes, yeah, that was it. It wasn't an airbag. So that's it. It's done it. It works. It starts. And it will of course now drive. And of course now I can wind that window down. So I can straighten that. Oh, you can see how bent that is because that doesn't go up into it properly. So we'll leave that down for the time being. So how pleased am I? Oh, that's this passenger. Oh no, that's where I've just changed it. I'm getting so excited now. So let's have a look under the bonnet. I didn't actually check the oil and water. I suppose I should have done really. So we have one engine running. What is that? been running since January. I think it was January it was stolen. And it now is running. So that's gone quite smoothly. I'm really pleased about that. So I've just stopped the engine. I thought I'd better check the oil and water. It's amazing how dusty these things get. They must leave these cars with the bonnets open at Copart. So I often get them when they're absolutely filthy with dust for some bizarre reason. So obviously I've got to do the same to the key, wherever it is. It's here somewhere. Oh, it's in my pocket. The spare key, I've got to do the same with that as well. I've never taken the spare key apart. I've got some old ones that I'm going to try on because I've got no idea how to do it. I imagine there's somewhere you can just prise it apart, but I've got to do the same for that because obviously that's got a chip in it as well. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. That's good. Let's just check the oil. I'm trying to work out whether this candel's been done or not. There's one of those Q codes there, not Q code, what are they called? QR code. We'll have to scan that and see what it does. There are some timing marks on here. Oh yeah, virtually new oil by the looks of it. Let's check the coolant. Yeah, loads. That's good, let's fill up. So, the day's nearly at an end. The sun is not far off going down, and although I haven't spent the whole day on it, I think I've made really good progress today. So the car's clean now, which has revealed a few scratches on the wheels, pretty much only on the near side, as is quite usual. So they'll need a bit of touching in. We got that we knew about. The back of the bumper is a bit strange. I've got some of it off, but we got some marks there. Some of them are coming off, some of them aren't. So I might have to do a little bit of painting on the back there. It's nothing dramatic. This side's fine. As you know, the aerial was off. I've put it back on, but it doesn't sit properly, and I've done the bolt up as tight as I can get it, and it's just not holding it down. So I think I'm going to have to get a new aerial. I don't quite know what's going on with it. I've never had that problem before. So I'm going to have a look on eBay. Obviously we know about the scratches on the roof. I'm going to have to sort those out. But the main thing, of course, is the ignition. All done. Steering wheel's back on, airbags back on. The bottom and top and bottom cowlings are all back on. They're all done, yeah. Car starts. I haven't driven it yet, but the car runs and drives now. So it's really good progress today. So I think as the sun is setting, almost, we'll call it a day. And we'll come out and do a bit more to it tomorrow. Project, what are we calling this? Project 500 Sport Project Stolen Recovered, I think we'll call this. So Project Stolen Recovered is well underway. It's a lovely little car, it's really nice. It will be once it's finished, but it's, yeah, I'm really pleased with the fact that it started after the change of the ignition barrel and so on. So it's really good progress today. So as I say, it's nice and clean now as well, as you can see. We've got quite a few subscribers over the last week, not by some people's standards, but by my standards we've had quite a few. So we're approaching the 700 now, 700 mark, which is really good, considering about 2 months ago we were about 150, 200, something like that. So it's really good. We're growing quite quickly. So I hope you've seen some stuff within the video today that was useful for you. And tune in next time for the next instalment when we'll start sorting out the bumper. I'm still waiting for some bits to come for the bumper. I've got some bits, got the badge now, got the front grille, as you know. I'm waiting for the lights to come and the fog light blanks as well. But yeah, so as I say, thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.